Hey friends, out here in the greenhouse, um, looking things over, and probably some things you haven't seen is that shade cloth up there. It's been getting pretty hot in here in the afternoons. Shade cloth's doing a remarkable job. I think we're going to put another row of it up right down the center in the roof, uh, and that'll help from about probably noon on. Keep it nice in here. And anyway, we're just out here. Today was water day. We've had to close our water days up a little bit sooner than what we've been going a week between waterings, but as you can see, tomatoes, potatoes, all this stuff is growing like crazy, and we're super pleased with everything. We've been eating about 3 to 4 dinner meals a week out of the greenhouse. Just lettuce and salad and spinach and radishes and onions. And first time in my life had boiled radishes. Don't know if you've ever had boiled radishes, but they're delicious. In case you ask, you clean them, boil them till they're clear or are getting pretty clear. Change your water, dump your water out, put a little butter, salt, pepper on them, and man, you've never had anything so good. Who thought? And they're sweet. They're not hot or peppery like a raw radish. They get real sweet. So anyway, there you go. Boiled radish recipe. Didn't know you were going to get that, did you? I said today was watering day. This is our little hose with a ball valve on it. Outside on a little trailer is a couple of 50-gallon barrels that we put water in and some fertilizer mix, 12-volt pump, and a little solar panel out there. And our watering days are now about 5 days apart, it looks like. And we just fill our wicking tubs until the water starts coming out the drain hole, and then we know that reservoir in the bottom is full. So that's what we're doing today, keeping our outside drums topped off and keeping our mix in there, and we're filling wicking tubs back up. So it looks like we're about 5 days apart on those now. That's just with the heat and all of the growth of the plants. This is our little trailer rig with the wicking tubs, lawnmower battery, not wicking tubs, rain barrels with water in them. There's a little lawnmower battery, a little 12-volt pump on here, solar panel keeps it topped up, and then we just pump out of here. See if I can turn this. We're filling these barrels up with water and fertilizer solution. Quick update on the outside garden. You can see green beans and onions, got rows of those. And then back over here, a row of tomatoes and squash and cucumbers back there along the fence. Everything's getting started. Anywhere you see the barrier, the weed barrier, we've got soaker hoses underneath the weed barrier, so we're trying that this year where we don't sprinkle or have to water as much. Still got some seedlings growing in here, and we'll be putting more of those out. We've been putting some out all along, just staggering our garden starts week by week, so everything's kind of on different timelines, but we should get continuous production that way by staggering how much we plant and when we plant. But you can see across the greenhouse, everything's growing up, getting big. We got a lot of green tomatoes set on, a lot of cherry tomatoes, pineapple tomatoes. So everything's doing well out here. How's it going? We were out in the greenhouse today, looked around at a few things. Today was watering day. Periodically I come in here and we have a chat on the porch, or ramblings from the man cave, or various different talks on occasion here on the channel. And today I just wanted to talk to you. I thought about making a tinfoil hat, putting it on and taking it off. And I know some of you all probably think anybody that thinks a little differently than what we're supposed to, or what the media says, or what's um, what society's pushing. Those people that think different, they label you and they tell you to, you know, you wearing a tinfoil hat, or you're just pretty out there. And I think at times that's, you know, can be accurate on some people, but what I want to talk about today is um, there's news stories of ranchers killing cattle, pigs, thousands of them being euthanized, chickens, tens of thousands being um, dumped in pits, killed and dumped in pits, milk dumped on the side of the road. Um, and to be clear on that, our supply and demand system with food and agricultural products is pretty delicate in America. Everything's timed at just such a way that when a pig's born, they already know when that pig's going to be slaughtered and when it's going to go to the store shelf. And so pigs are bred and birthed knowing the shelf date that meat's going to go to the shelf, and the demand historically, what it's been and what it will be and what it's going to be. And same with milk, gallons of milk, and beef, and a lot of the agricultural supplies, vegetables. And so as ranchers and farmers and produce their crops, whether it's animal or vegetable or plant, they know the timing of what they're doing. And when the timing gets disrupted with something like COVID or whatever's going on in America, things get out of order. And so there's not a demand for milk. And so you can't just tell a cow to stop producing milk. So those cows keep producing, and then they have a choice of, well, I you know, my dairy doesn't pasteurize milk. I've got to get so many gallons into the pasteurizer. Well, the pasteurizer shut down, and it's illegal to sell raw milk, and so we're just going to dump it on the side of the road, and I can't stop that cow. And if I stop that cow, then I got to start that cow again, and there's expense and danger to the cow involved in that, infection and different things going on. And if I stop that cow, well, I could take some cows to the butcher, but that's already a problem. The meat packers and the cutters are all shut down right now, and so there's cattle stacking up in the system, getting bigger than they should be, and kill dates are getting farther and farther out. So that's not really an option. And so this bubble or this bump in the system is really starting to cause some ripples. And as we start to open America back up and go back to work and do different things, I think there's some real significant changes ahead for us as consumers. And I think y'all need to be thinking about that. You need to be preparing for that. So if you disrupt the supply of a food chain and things like that start happening, where you're killing cattle and pigs and chickens and dumping milk and tilling vegetables under. Read an article today about farmers that are tilling their vegetables under. Their delivery dates, they're not going to be able to meet them. The stores and their places and their resources where they go with their finished product isn't ready for them, doesn't want it. Strawberry market was one I was reading about, that there's no demand for ripe strawberries right now. And so the guys' strawberries are just rotting in the fields, like 200-300 acres of strawberries. And so rather than let them rot, they till them under. Peppers and squash, I read an article about, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of pounds of that is getting tilled under, because there's either no one to harvest, or there's no demand for it, and there's nowhere to go with it, or there's no storage for it. So there's just so many things going on right now, disrupting what's normally a pretty smooth system. And so I think, you know, like I said, tinfoil hat, but I think you better be prepared for some disruption on some store shelves in the very, very near future. I'm talking the next couple days, and definitely the next few weeks. I think there's going to be some shortage of some food, and I'm not saying everybody's going to run out of food, but you might not be able to eat what you want to eat when you want to eat it. You might be eating what you can find when you go to the store. Um, and that lends to a little bit of what we do on this channel. We want people to learn how to grow food, how to grow your own food. And we've been talking about vegetables and gardening primarily so far because of the time of year that it is. Um, we also have some experience raising wheat and some other crops, some grain crops, and we'll be getting into that later as the season goes on this channel. But there's also another factor. There's the chickens. We've talked about those, eggs. You can raise meat chickens. You can raise some feeder pigs on the farm. You can raise some beef cattle locally. And you either have to butcher yourself, or there are some regional butchers that you can take your animals to, but you have to get kill dates with those guys, and those guys are all booked up pretty much right now too. So there's some things that are going to have to, in my opinion, long term change in this country. And we've regulated vegetable growing and beef raising and pig raising and chicken farming. We've regulated it to death, to the point there's inspectors and agents and forms and certain kill ways you have to kill, and the facilities have to be just such this way. And what's happened is it's turned into big farm, big corp, big kill facilities. And when they go down with COVID or what's going on right now, there ain't anybody in there to fill the gap. And so we need to get back to the regional butcher, the guy down the street that's got a kill pen behind the building, that he can take one from hoof to the freezer for you. And that used to be that way. Every little town had that, and I think we've got to get back to some of that mentality. Is it ever going to be back to the way it was? Probably not. But this big corp meat handling and vegetable, freezer houses, and pick green and let it ripen or gas it or radiate it. That stuff's got to stop, and we've got to get back to growing some of our own food and raising some of our own food and killing some of our own food and learning how to prepare it, how to can it. Through the summer here, we're going to grow a lot of food here, and we're going to put some up, and we're going to talk about it and teach you how to do it on this channel. So these are all things I just think you need to think about, and I think you need to be watching very carefully kind of the supply and demand and what's going on. We're importing beef from other countries right now, and we're instructing our cattlemen to kill their beef because there's no market. And I think you need to know where your food comes from, whether it comes from your own yard, comes from your own kill pen, your own pens at your farm, or your neighbor out on the farm, and you live in the city, but you got a friend that raises you a beef a year. You need to know where that stuff's coming from and know the process to get it into your freezer. I just think we got to get back to that, and as this country reopens and there's changes ahead, there's changes for all of us. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the way we were on anything. But some of the things that need to change need to be government and inspection and big corp, and all this stuff needs to get out of the way and go away. Regulation needs to stop. There's nothing a milk farmer wants more than someone to enjoy his product. He didn't want to kill anybody with his product. And, I don't need an inspector telling me. I think that guy's got pride enough in his product. And if he doesn't, and his product hurts someone or it doesn't taste good, you buy something else, and his demand goes away. So, do we need some oversight in a few places? Absolutely, wouldn't hurt. But when the regulations have gotten so thick that there's only a few kill facilities in the whole United States, or there's only 2 companies that process all the chicken, or that's bad. And I think we're learning a lot of things out of this. China makes 70% of our pharmaceuticals. That's bad. So anyway, I just hope you reflect a little, think about where your food comes from, think about whether you could grow some food yourself, think about alternative places to get your food, and encourage that local butcher and visit their business and give them some business. We need those guys. We need those stores. We got to get away from this big box, throw it away mentality, and get back to quality products, things that are made here, things that we can service and work on ourselves, and things that are serviceable, not just throw away. And on the food side of things, we need to buy all of our food within 100 miles, unless it's something exotic that you can't grow in the region you're in. We have a hard time growing citrus here, but in general, I think some things are going to be changing, and the end result will be for the better. How we get from here to there may be a little rough. Anyway, tinfoil hat back on, and OK Family Farmstead here. If you like what I'm saying, maybe you don't, subscribe anyway, give us a like. We've got some fun stuff coming down the road as the season opens up and things start happening around here. So anyway, I hope you're enjoying the channel, and we'll talk to you soon.